Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Discovery titled Interstellar Traveller. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on Spotify and we're going to listen through it from start to finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. So peaceful. It's just so charming with that combination of like the organs with the vibrato on them, or the wah wah kind of thing going on with the bass, and the kind of eerie sound. Like, there's a lot of space. The wistful nature of the percussion with the rides and kicks.
I'm on an endless stream, floating through a dark and thoughtless dream. But it's alright, 'cause I've got the wind in my sails and the sun at my back. Yeah, set my engines to overdrive and my mind at ease. I'm an interstellar traveller
And hook line.
and I travel on a dream. Through the stars my path has led, looking for the question to the answer that has left me wandering the sky. I don't know when I'll be back. I don't know if I'll come back.
Dude, that was stunning. We're at the 2-minute mark. The track has just flown by. We had the vocals talking about someone preparing to go on a big adventure into the skies, putting their engines into overdrive. Wonderfully phrased melodies, really interesting. And it wasn't just that we had the main vocals, we had the harmonies as well in our chorus sections. We're very elegant in our various sort of head and chest voice there. But it's also the extra oomph for the guitars alongside those vocal double tracks. The piano coming in with a little, it was kind of very soulful kind of groove there with the extensions. And back to this.
I've seen the raging sea and the center of the universe, and I don't mind, 'cause I've got a mind made of stardust and a heart made of gold. Yeah, set my engines to overdrive and my mind at ease. I'm an interstellar traveller and I travel on a dream. Through the stars my path has led, looking for the question.
It's just that major lift there, looking for the question. And we add a bit of hope there. We flip a chord into a chord we haven't had beforehand in those previous verse sections. And a bit of grit with the guitars as well.
Wandering the sky, I don't know when I'll be back. I don't know if I'll come back.
And then just that pulsating letting us out. I don't know if when I'll come back being those two lines that are repeated. And then there's just no resolution to it. it's just left with that question of not knowing when we're going to return or whether we're going to return. And I adore that. I think this is a really well written song and I had a good time with it. But we're going to talk about that more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Discovery titled Interstellar Traveller. Now, what do I think that this track is about? I think that Interstellar Traveller is about it's someone who is preparing to go on an adventure. They've seen the swirling oceans and like the center of the universe. And they talk about being filled with stardust and stuff like that. It could be that they're like literally going to be an astronaut or something like that, or they could be just going to explore the world around them and they're filled with the wonderment of that. And they're not sure whether they're going to actually come back to where they started from. I think you could compare that to a lot of things going on your own sort of, developing as a person, literally going out and like traveling the world, etc. So I think it's fantastic. It's a really nicely and neatly told story there. And I think that the vocals were really charismatic. They were low key, don't get me wrong. They weren't like vibrant and bubbly in the sense that we were trying to exude like a sense of like stupendous amount of happiness about it. It was more like we were aware of what we were going to need to do. We were kind of trying to inform the listener of it, but we're also letting them know, I've seen all these things. I understand how things are, but I just don't know if I'm going to return. It was basically, I think, communicating to the listener our position in the whole entire thing, subtly indicating how we felt about it, that sense of uncertainty and stuff like that. And ultimately just providing a nice, flexible means of approach with the track in general. Like, again, with the vocals, we didn't just have the main... When we had the main vocals, the verse part come in by themselves, and then we had double tracking going on in the chorus section for a bit of oomph over top of the distorted guitars when they came in. With I didn't mention the lead guitar in that first section, that intro section, and the first half of that intro. I thought it was dope. Again, very minimalist, very restrained with the note choices and stuff like that. The vocals are clearly the focal point, but nonetheless really interesting to listen to. I enjoyed my time listening to the story. The vocalist had a great technique to them, great hidden chest voice, are very comfortable with their music theory scales and modes, etc. And we even had some interesting bits of tension there with the interval choices there, insinuating that we were not afraid to go against the grain a little bit, make things a little bit uncomfortable for that resolution near the end. And yeah, we had we were good. We were good with that front. The track at 3 minutes 33 did not feel like didn't feel like 3 minutes 33. It felt like a lot shorter. We had a couple of verses and a couple of choruses with enough space within this track with would I say a slow tempo? I think it was that slower kind of tempo there. So maybe that's why the track flew along. It was just so interesting to listen to every beat as it flew by. But we had the bass, the drums, and then the organ or the keys coming really early on. We had enough to kind of capture our attention near automatically. And then with that lead guitar there, that kind of wispiness there, the bit of singe to it, and a glow there, it was kind of sweet. To have the vocals coming after that was nice structurally. And then of course the guitar came away at that point where the vocals came in, only to come back into the chorus, a bit of rhythm work there, which makes sense. You replace a guitar lead for a vocal lead, etc. With the vocal, even though the leads were kind of like chill and gentle. But the structuring was easy to follow along with. We also had, I think we had like guitars, bass, keys, like electric keys or organs, and then piano, and then we had and drums. And that was really all we needed in this track. I don't think we needed more than that. It was nicely fleshed out, both in the frequency spectrum and the stereo field from a compositional perspective alone. But if I talk about a few of my favorite instruments, I think the drums were great. I really liked the movement they had there. It was nice not just to focus on those right parts and pocket throughout the verses and stuff, but also some of the fill transitions there with the triplet grooves were scintillating as well. They weren't overpowering, but they were enough to change up the groove and flow of a track in a way that was very positive. I think the bass with the legato, or like the holding of the notes and not having too much sort of like percussive. Did we have staccato notes? It felt like a lot of it was being let to ring, but we might have had some staccato bass notes. But there was no sharp elements in there. We were typically following alongside the chord progressions and the root notes there. Ba-bum-bum. We had a bit of pep with like the blues scale. It was just a really fantastic tone, though. It had a bit of a rumble to it, a little bit of kind of sass to it, a bit of kick to it. The organ as well on the side, nicely niched in that mid-range there on the sides there, vibrated and went wow, 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 wow. I thought that was wonderful, that it wasn't a consistent thing. It kind of was like the thoughts swirling around your head that kind of represented, and it was a nice bit of mid-range articulation of those chord triads as well. The guitar later on after the lead and work in the initial kind of providing sort of a lead note and melody for the listener to follow along to after the first half with just the rhythm accompaniment was great to have a bit more kind of edge in the second half of the chorus. They're adding a bit more sense of drama and tension to that decision making that we're trying to do about whether or not we're going to come back or whatever. And then the piano as well. It was nice and followed along those bluesy and pentatonic minors and such, and kind of articulated mid to range. Most of the vocals were in the high end. There were cymbals as well, don't get me wrong. It's just I think we tried to play in a way that was full enough to be able to have like a whole track and keep it interesting and intriguing throughout. But you also didn't want to take away from what the singing, the vocalist was doing. I think that that sense of trying not to over-egg the pudding was smart here. It made for a very palatable and accessible intro and single and first impression. And I think if this is the kind of music they make, they're going to have a future in the industry, because this thing is really wonderful. I really hope they do find success with this track. The theme itself, with the performance being really sort of solid and the vocals and lyrics being compelling, it's just a situation where it kind of sounded a little bit contemplative. They had the extensions and the harmonies there. It was kind of a bluesy focus for some of those scales and melodic passages in the lower end as well. So maybe it was someone like they knew they were having to go away, but they weren't sure about it. But there was they were toing and froing about it, like the warbling of the keys. And there were there was dynamic range to it. Things weren't the same lasting the entire time. Things built with the double tracks of the vocals and the distorted parts and the second half of the chorus and came back down again, We were going to and fro. We seemed undecided. That is what the theme, the combination of different instruments, the build, especially at the end there where we cut things a bit shorter than the first chorus. That's how I felt. It screamed uncertainty to me. And I kind of like that. I'm not entirely sure about what's going to happen. That's entertaining. And I think it's a very personal thing and it's well thought out. So well done to Discovery for that. I hope they discover whether they want to come back or not. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering was great. It was sensational. I really appreciate the quality of the vocal performances, nicely leveled with the guitar, piano, keys, bass, and drums. And in terms of the actual, level of the things, it was great. There were no weird resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. Things were nicely surrounding you in the headphones as well. There was stereo range in the stereo field. There was dynamic range to the performance. Things were not overly glued or too kind of restrained there, but it was still nice and loud without pumping, so the bass compression limiting was handled. And the singer could just sing. We didn't need an additional sort of help in the post. There's a bit of reverb there, a little bit of filtering to get rid of unnecessary low-end kind of content, but aside from that, just really well done. This is my review. It's quite a positive review of this track from Discovery titled Interstellar Traveller, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and a Spotify page. Stay cool, stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need to help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.